Your person talked about you today with their brother, and you won't believe what he said because the words came out with a mixture of honesty, surprise, and emotions that even he wasn't prepared to reveal. And it wasn't just a casual conversation. It was something deeper, something that spilled out when he didn't even realize he was saying it. And his brother just listened, nodding at times, questioning at other times. But the core of it all was you, your name, your presence, your impact, and the undeniable way you have been living in his mind, even when he tries to pretend otherwise. And it started so naturally, with just a small moment in the day when his brother asked how life has been, and suddenly, without planning it, without thinking through, he mentioned you, and the tone in his voice shifted, softer, slower, as if he was afraid to admit too much, yet couldn't stop himself from admitting something real, something raw, something that has been inside his chest pressing against him. And he said that lately you've been on his mind far more than he can explain, far more than he can rationalize. And the way he spoke was not casual, not empty, not careless. It was heavy with weight, with unspoken feelings, with the kind of truth people usually keep locked away. And his brother caught that shift immediately, leaning closer, asking him why he suddenly sounded different, why his eyes gave away more than his words. And that's when he sighed, rubbed his hands together, looked down, and admitted that you're not just another person in his world, not just another fleeting presence. Because every time your name comes up, every time your face crosses his thoughts, something inside him feels alive, something restless, something that makes him both excited and terrified at once. And his brother raised his eyebrows, curious, asking what exactly he meant by that, asking if this was serious or just a passing distraction. And that's when the truth came out, the truth that he doesn't even like admitting to himself, that he cares about you deeply, almost more than he should, almost more than he ever intended. Because from the very beginning, he promised himself he wouldn't get attached. He wouldn't let feelings complicate things. He wouldn't let his heart wander into dangerous territory. But here he is, confessing in pieces, not to you, but to his brother. Because sometimes it's easier to admit to someone on the outside than it is to admit to the very person who makes your chest tighten and your thoughts restless. And he said it so quietly that his brother had to lean in to hear. He said that you make him think differently, feel differently, act differently. And he doesn't even understand how or why, but it happens every single time. And his brother smirked, almost teasing, asking if this was love, asking if he finally fell for someone without realizing it. And he shook his head quickly, denying it, saying no, saying it's not love, not yet, not like that. But then his brother pointed out that people who are not in love don't speak the way he's speaking, don't look the way he looks when your name slips from his lips, don't carry that nervous smile when they realize how much someone means to them. And he stayed quiet for a long time after that, staring at the floor, tapping his fingers against his leg, battling himself inside. Because denial is easy, but honesty is hard. Yet in that moment, honesty started slipping through, and he whispered something his brother almost didn't catch. He said that he's afraid of how much you mean. Afraid because whenever he cares too much, life has a way of testing him. Life has a way of pulling things away, and he doesn't want to lose what he never officially had. Doesn't want to admit too much and end up exposed, vulnerable, broken. So he keeps it inside most of the time. But in front of his brother, it slipped, it poured. And he said, "You're not just someone who passed through his life. You're the thought that lingers, the comfort that surprises him, the chaos that excites him, and the unknown that scares him." And his brother sat back, studying him, realizing this wasn't just infatuation, wasn't just a casual mention. This was real. This was the kind of thing that roots itself in silence and grows stronger the more you try to ignore it. And he told his brother about little moments, the kind of moments that wouldn't matter to anyone else, but to him, they meant everything. The way you smiled once and it stayed with him for days. The way your voice carries in his head when he's alone. The way he notices small details about you even when he tries to look away. The way he feels unsettled if too much time passes without hearing from you. And his brother chuckled, calling him out, saying he's already far gone, saying he's already invested more than he admits. And he got defensive, shaking his head, saying no, saying it's not like that, saying he can stop anytime. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. He knew stopping wasn't possible anymore because the feelings had already taken root, had already grown past the point of control, and his brother knew too. His brother could see it in his eyes, could hear it in the tremble of his voice, could feel it in the way he struggled to even speak your name without shifting in his seat. And so his brother pushed, asking if he ever plans on telling you, if he ever plans on letting you know the truth. And that's when he froze. That's when the silence grew thick, because telling you means risking everything. Telling you means opening up a part of himself he doesn't show anyone. Telling you means standing on the edge of something beautiful, but also terrifying. And he doesn't know if he's ready for that. Doesn't know if you'd feel the same. Doesn't know if he's strong enough to handle the answer. And so he shrugged, pretending not to know, pretending it doesn't matter. But his brother saw right through it. And his brother said something that made him quiet for the rest of the night. He said, "If you don't tell her, you'll regret it. If you don't speak, someone else will. If you don't take the chance, you'll spend your life wondering what if." And that silence that followed wasn't just silence. It was the weight of everything unsaid, the weight of everything he hides, the weight of you. And even though he didn't reply, deep inside he knew his brother was right. Deep inside, he knew the feelings were too strong to bury forever. Deep inside, he knew that sooner or later, one way or another, the truth would come out. And the thought of that truth both terrified him and gave him hope. Because maybe, just maybe, you feel the same. Maybe, just maybe, all this time, you've been waiting for him to say it too. Your person talked about you again. This time not just with his brother, but mostly with himself. In those quiet hours when the world is silent and his thoughts refuse to rest. And though he never says it out loud when he's alone, the conversation with his brother kept replaying in his head. Every word, every pause, every raised eyebrow, every piece of advice, it all echoed inside him, making him realize that the truth was no longer just sitting quietly in the corner of his heart. It was demanding to be heard. demanding to be faced, and the more he tried to push it away, the louder it became, until finally he couldn't help but admit to himself that yes, you've taken a place in his heart that no one else has. Yes, you've carved yourself into his life in ways he never expected. And yes, whether he wants to or not, he feels something deeper than he's been brave enough to say. And it's strange because he didn't plan for it. He didn't search for it. He didn't even think he was capable of it anymore. But then you walked into his world like a quiet storm, and suddenly everything changed. Suddenly his nights were filled with thoughts of you. Suddenly his mornings carried a strange lightness whenever he remembered you. And suddenly his whole rhythm seemed to move around your presence without him even noticing. And the funny thing is he thought no one would notice, thought he was hiding it well, thought his brother wouldn't see through him. But the truth is his feelings are too strong to remain invisible. And even when he denies it, even when he shakes his head and says no, his heart beats differently. Whenever you come up, his silence speaks louder than his words, and his brother is not the only one who would notice. Anyone who looked close enough could tell, because you don't talk about someone the way he talks about you unless there's something real there. You don't hold someone's name in your mouth the way he does unless it means more than he admits. And in those quiet moments after his brother went to bed, he sat there alone, staring at nothing, whispering to himself, asking why you of all people. Why now? Why when he thought he was done with this kind of thing? And the only answer that kept coming back was that maybe he needed you. Maybe life knew he needed someone like you. Maybe it wasn't an accident at all. And the thought scared him and comforted him at the same time. Because if it wasn't an accident, if this was meant to be, then what does that mean for the future? What does that mean for the way he feels? And his heart kept pulling him toward the idea of you, toward the possibility of something more. And though his mind tried to fight it, though his logic told him to be careful, to step back, to protect himself, his emotions had already chosen their path. And their path was you, always circling back to you, always restless until it reached you. And he remembered moments, small and ordinary moments that somehow became extraordinary because they involved you. The way you laughed once, and he couldn't stop smiling long after you were gone. The way you looked at him, and it felt like you saw through the walls he usually keeps up. The way your presence made the world around him feel both calmer and more alive. And he thought about telling you, thought about how it would feel to finally let the words spill, to finally let you know that you mean more to him than he lets on. And the image of your reaction filled him with both hope and fear. Because what if you smiled and said you felt the same? But also, what if you didn't? What if you pulled away? What if the truth ruined the comfort of what you have now? And that uncertainty kept his lips sealed, kept his confessions buried. But his brother's words wouldn't leave him alone. If you don't tell her, you'll regret it. And regret is something he's carried before, something he knows too well. And the thought of regretting not telling you scares him almost as much as the thought of telling you and losing you. So he's stuck, trapped between the risk of speaking and the risk of silence, between the safety of staying quiet and the possibility of something greater if he's brave enough to open his heart. And as he sat there in the dark, His brother's voice played in his mind again. Maybe she's waiting for you to say it too. Maybe she feels the same, but doesn't want to be the first. And that thought lit something inside him, a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, you've been feeling the same under your quiet smiles, under your casual words, under the way you look at him when you think he's not paying attention. And if that's true, then everything changes. If that's true, then all this fear has been keeping him from something beautiful, something worth every risk. And he realized then that his brother wasn't wrong, that sooner or later, the truth would demand to be spoken. Because feelings like this don't stay hidden forever. They grow. They press against you. They find their way out one way or another. And as much as he wanted to deny it, as much as he wanted to stay in control, deep inside, he knew he wouldn't be able to keep it from you forever. He knew that the day would come when he'd look at you and the words would spill whether he planned them or not. And the thought both terrified him and made him smile. Because if that day comes and you feel the same, everything will be worth it. Every sleepless night, every restless thought, every fear, it will all make sense. And as he sat there, whispering your name softly into the empty night, he realized something that shook him. He realized that he doesn't just like you, doesn't just care, doesn't just think of you casually. He realized that what he feels is deeper, stronger, something that's been quietly shaping itself inside him without his permission. And though he's not ready to call it love, though he's not ready to give it that word yet, he knows it's on its way. He knows it's growing into something undeniable. And he knows that no matter how hard he tries to resist, his heart has already chosen you. And maybe, just maybe, you've already chosen him too. And that possibility alone keeps him holding on, keeps him awake, keeps him hoping, because there's nothing more powerful than the chance that the person you've been silently falling for has been silently falling for you too. Your person couldn't escape the weight of his own words anymore, because once you admit something, even in whispers, even only to yourself, it becomes real. And after talking with his brother, after wrestling with his own mind in the quiet of the night, he carried you into every thought, every silence, every moment when he should have been focusing on other things, and he hated that he couldn't hide it from himself anymore, because now everything reminded him of you. The smallest things, a song, in the background, a phrase someone said, even the way the air felt at certain times of the day. And it was like you were everywhere, not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, invisibly present in every corner of his world. And he caught himself imagining conversations with you, the kind of conversations where he finally says the things he's been holding back, where he finally looks you in the eyes and admits that you mean more to him than he ever thought someone could. And in those imagined conversations, he feels a relief, a release, as if speaking the truth would free him from the constant storm inside. But then, right after, his mind runs to the darker side, to the what ifs that haunt him. What if you don't feel the same? What if you look at him differently? What if the connection you have now shatters under the weight of the words he wants to say? And those fears keep him stuck, keep him silent, keep him pretending that everything is normal when inside nothing feels normal anymore. And his brother notices, his brother teases him sometimes, saying he zones out too much, saying he's quieter than usual, saying he smiles at nothing. And he knows exactly why, but he doesn't admit it out loud, because admitting it means facing it, and he's not sure he's ready to face it, not sure he's ready to step into the unknown of your response. But deep down, he knows he won't be able to hide it forever, because feelings like this have a way of overflowing, have a way of slipping out in the way he looks at you, in the way his voice softens around you, in the way he lingers in moments longer than he should. And part of him wonders if you've noticed, if maybe you've caught on, if maybe you've seen through the cracks of his guarded self and realized what's been growing underneath. And sometimes he swears your eyes tell him you have. Sometimes he swears there's a softness in your gaze that mirrors his own. Sometimes he thinks the silence between you speaks louder than any words. But then doubt creeps in, whispering that he's imagining it, that he's reading too much into things, that maybe to you he's just another person, just another passing presence. And the thought stings, because to him you're not just anyone. You're the thought that keeps him awake, the comfort he doesn't admit, the risk he both fears and craves. And the truth is, he doesn't know how to balance it anymore. Doesn't know how to keep pretending it's nothing when it's everything. Doesn't know how to keep holding it back when it's pushing harder every day to be free. And so he lives in this tension, in this pull between silence and confession, between fear and hope. And it's exhausting. Yet somehow he wouldn't trade it, because even the pain of holding it in is proof of how much you mean, proof that you're not ordinary to him, proof that this isn't something he can shrug off. And sometimes late at night, he imagines a different version of himself, a braver version, the kind of version who wouldn't hesitate, who would show up at your door, look you in the eyes, and say everything without fear. And in that vision, he sees you smiling. He sees you surprised but happy. He sees you reaching for his hand. And it feels so real, he almost convinces himself to do it, almost convinces himself to take the leap. But then morning comes, and with it comes caution, logic, fear, and he retreats again, back in his silence, back into pretending. But the pretending is getting harder. The pretending is starting to crack, because his heart doesn't care about his logic. His heart doesn't care about his plans. His heart only knows you, only beats faster when it's about you, only calms when it imagines you near. And no matter how hard he tries to fight it, he knows deep down that he's already yours in ways you don't even know, already given more of himself than he's ever given anyone, already fallen deeper than he thought possible. And his brother keeps reminding him, keeps telling him not to waste time, not to let fear steal what could be something beautiful. And he listens, he nods, he even agrees, but still he hesitates, because the truth is, as much as he wants to tell you, as much as he wants to risk it all, he also doesn't want to lose what little he already has with you. Because even in silence, even in secrecy, even in this limbo, having you in his life in some way feels better than risking losing you completely. And yet the longing grows, the silence gets heavier, the truth presses harder, and he knows it's only a matter of time before it spills, before it escapes, before it finds its way to you, whether he plans it or not. Because hearts are stubborn, they don't stay quiet forever. and his heart is already speaking louder than his words, already betraying him in the way he looks at you, in the way he remembers every detail, in the way he talks about you when he thinks no one is paying attention. And one day soon, maybe without warning, the truth will come. And when it does, he can only hope that your heart has been quietly waiting for it too. Your person carried that conversation with his brother long after it ended, replaying it in his head over and over. Because when someone else points out what you try so hard to hide, it becomes impossible to bury it again. And his brother's words kept circling back. If you don't tell her, you'll regret it. Regret. He knew that word too well, had tasted it before, had lived with its sharp edge cutting into his memory, and he promised himself he would never let regret control his life again. Yet here he was, standing on the edge of it once more, afraid that silence might cost him the one person who keeps crossing his mind no matter how much he tries to distract himself. And he hated that his brother was right, hated that someone else could see through him so clearly, but most of all, he hated that he didn't know what to do next. Because the truth is, you're not just someone he admires from a distance. You're not just a passing thought that fades when the day ends. You're constant, persistent, unavoidable. You're the thought that lingers when he should be focusing on work. You're the smile that interrupts his serious expressions. You're the reason his mood shifts without warning, and he doesn't even bother denying it to himself anymore. Instead, he lives in this restless state of wanting to tell you and being terrified to. Late at night, he imagines your reaction. Sometimes he lets himself dream, you smiling softly, your eyes shining, your voice carrying relief as if you've been waiting to hear those words all along. In that vision, everything feels easy, everything falls into place, and he feels foolish for ever doubting. But then his fears barge in, painting a different picture. You pulling back, your smile fading, your voice breaking with awkwardness, and the space between you widening into something unfixable. And those two visions battle inside him every single day, one feeding his hope and the other feeding his fear, and he's caught between them like a prisoner of his own emotions. His brother notices the change. He notices how quiet he's become, how distracted he seems, how easily he smiles when your name comes up in conversation. One evening, his brother teased him again, saying he's never seen him act this way before, never seen him so unsure, never seen him so alive. And though he rolled his eyes and brushed it off, inside he knew it was true. You've awakened something in him he thought he had buried, something he thought was long gone, and it scared him because he wasn't sure he was ready to feel this way again. But he can't help it. Even in the simplest moments, he feels it. The way he remembers tiny details about you, the way you tilt your head when you're curious, the rhythm of your laughter, the expressions you make when you're trying not to show too much. He notices it all, stores it away, replays it when he's alone, and every detail feels precious, feels personal, feels like a secret only he gets to carry. And though he tells himself it's nothing, though he tells himself it's just admiration, deep inside he knows it's more, knows that his heart has already chosen, knows that this is not something he can control anymore. Sometimes he wonders if you've noticed, wonders if you can feel the difference in the way he looks at you, if you sense the hesitation in his words, if you see the softness in his eyes when they rest on you longer than they should. Sometimes he swears your eyes mirror his own, that your silence says just as much as his, that maybe you're waiting for him to be brave first. And when those thoughts come, his hope burns brighter, almost enough to drown out the fear. But then reality pulls him back. The fear of losing what he already has with you, the comfort, the closeness, the unspoken understanding. Because as much as he wants more, he doesn't want to risk losing what little is already there. And so he stays silent, telling himself he'll wait for the right moment, telling himself patience is safer. Yet every day, the silence gets heavier, and his brother's words echo louder. One night, unable to sleep, he whispered your name into the darkness, testing how it felt to say it out loud, letting the sound linger in the air as though maybe it would carry to you somehow, as though maybe the universe would deliver what he was too afraid to. And in that moment, he realized something. He realized he wasn't just thinking of you. He wasn't just missing you. He wasn't just drawn to you. He realized that you've become the measure by which he compares everything else in his life, the center around which his thoughts revolve, the presence that makes the ordinary feel extraordinary. And that realization shook him because it meant this wasn't temporary. This wasn't something that would fade. This wasn't just another passing chapter. It was something deeper, stronger, and whether he was ready or not, it had already taken root. His brother was right. Sooner or later, the truth would demand to be spoken. And though he's not ready to say it yet, though he's not ready to risk it all, his heart knows that day is coming. And when it does, nothing will ever be the same again. Sparkles,